Welcome to Impact, the live podcast. It's sponsored by the Universe, powered by Venture Cafe. My name is Nefertari Strickland. I am the founder of Teachers and Tanya Morris. She can't be with us today, but I've invited the BGV change agents to be with us during the BGV takeover of Venture Cafe. So Tiara, welcome to the podcast.
Hi,
Robin.
everyone.
Welcome to the podcast as well. Thank you so much, everyone that's taken the time out of this afternoon to join us. This podcast was started during the pandemic, early on in the pandemic. So we remind ourselves every month that through grace, we are able to survive, be resilient, and we know that we'll bounce back from this by working together. So every time someone says Corona on the podcast, we take a drink. So as I mentioned, I have a 6-pack that I got from Wegmans looking for a local brew. If you have something that you're sharing with us today, please open it. And Robin, I see you have something. Will you unmute and tell us what you have?
Okay, so I went to DeBruno's today in Center City, and I picked up, it's a sparkling Italian wine, a Lambrusco. So that's what I have.
That sounds fancy. You went and got fancy on us. Tiara, did you bring it back home Philly style, or did you go get fancies too?
So first of all, I'm excited to share that I am drinking, doesn't this look great? This is crisp apple cider, 100% juice from fresh whole apples.
Fresh.
Right?
Fresh.
This was to celebrate my daughter's 6th birthday.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I'm gonna take it to the head, okay?
Very nice. Tracy, are you joining us as well?
I am actually drinking a Trogs IPA.
Very nice.
I had to run to go get it.
So I went tried and true. Victory. Victory, it's tried and true. So this month we are focusing on boldness. By definition, boldness is the willingness to take risk and act innovatively. Confidence, courage, they're both associated with boldness. As small businesses continue to rebound and, if possible, recover from the devastation of COVID-19 and the civil and social unrest, citizens are coming together across the nation. Here in the greater Philadelphia area, we're celebrating Minority Development Week, and today our guests are going to discuss how we can move beyond the boldness of the boycotts and civil unrest into action. So Alexis, Sonetta, would you unmute yourselves? Thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
So first, are you partaking with us?
Okay, see, I seem to be late to the party, but I have a little margarita mix.
Okay.
That I could, throw into the party.
We'll take that.
Fun. We'll make it fun. I'm gonna hop off my camera, get it right, and then I'll be right back. 2 seconds. Let me get a cup.
Very nice. So Zanetta, did I pronounce it right?
Yes, Zonetta Z is fine. I kind of forgot about it and drank it last night, and that's of this morning. So I will not, but I will definitely enjoy watching everybody else, and I'll cheers as well, my fake drink. So
okay, so every opportunity you get, you have to say Corona.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, Corona. So how about now?
Very good. So I'd like you to share with us, one, let everyone know who you are and your mission, your organizational structure. What are you all working on right now?
Wow, so I'm gonna go ahead and take that away. So we are Rebuild the Block Corp. We're an organization that focuses solely on redistributing wealth, knowledge, and resources back into the Black community. So right now, we currently are orchestrating a small business relief fund to help small Black-owned businesses that were affected by COVID-19 and by the looting and door destruction that happened during the civil unrest. And we've been pioneering for the past, 3 to 4 months. And we've helped over 20 businesses. We've been giving out grants and just being as helpful as we can be to these businesses.
So I think it's awesome work, one, that you all are doing, because you yourself, are you currently a student?
Yes, I'm currently a student with Penn State Great Valley for my MBA.
And to be so young and to not just say we need to take action, but to actually take action, we applaud you in that. How do you all know each other?
We were roommates back in undergrad, so
Yeah.
we collabed again.
So was there a pivotal moment that inspired you all to come together to start Rebuild the Block?
I think you could use, I don't even want to say use, but it was definitely between George Floyd protests and then just the irresponsibility with the relief from COVID that really pushed us to say, you know what, we're not going to wait. Because we originally said, let's just wait till we're in our careers, we're these big boss women, and we're doing what we're going to do. And then people will know us so we can do it. And it was June for us that it was like, nah, let's do it right now. Let's be students. Maybe it'll have more of an impact. Who even cares if it has an impact? If we can help people, let's just do it so we feel good about it. And it organically grew from there.
So the organizational structure, is it formalized yet, or are you still just early in the phases of building the actual organization around the effort and the idea?
So our organization's pretty structured. When Alexis came to me with the idea of even creating Rebuild the Block, it really just started as a GoFundMe, just trying to help anybody who was affected by COVID-19. And then we realized businesses have been really affected, especially with the looting destruction we were seeing during some of the heights of the protests. And we were realizing like, that's not the point of protesting. Why are we doing this to our own people when we're thinking about, wealth and capital? This is hurting these businesses, right? So when Alexis kind of presented the idea, I was so on board. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. But then we realized, well, I'm also a student too, and I want to go to med school. So I'm looking to do sciences and all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't have the time to do everything with you. Let's start asking friends and kind of getting their opinion. And we were really proactive in the beginning stages of even like having this GoFundMe. And with that being said, we were able to really start structuring from there. From really day 2, we were already structuring. And then we're like, okay, once we've seen the money come in, we're like, okay, we don't want no IRS knocking on our doors with all this money. So we were really proactive just to make sure we were credible. We wanted people to feel like they're donating to something that's going to make a change, and that, it's actual people that are, reputable, essentially. We want to be transparent with people to know where their money was going.
I hear you. If you all have questions for these ladies, please put it in the chat and we'll read them. So at what point did you say to yourselves, now is the time and we're the ones to do it? I hear you say you got together on it, but at what point did you know that now was the time to act?
For me, I always say divine timing, right? It was around the time when a lot of businesses were putting out these messages for how they felt about the George Floyd passing and what their business were sorry for and all of this. And I just wasn't hearing enough about how people were going to help small businesses. So I'm like, okay, I went home one day, and I'm telling you, my ancestors was just right in the back of my ear. Like, if you don't sit down, start a GoFundMe, start something, get it done now. Like, and it was just, I couldn't even tell you who, but it's just something in my ear. So I was forced to pull out my computer, start a GoFundMe, and just start typing, Rebuild the Block. This is for small Black-owned businesses. And I pressed go, and I was like, oh, let me call somebody. So I called Z and I said, girl, I just started this thing and you gonna do it with me, and this is what we're gonna do. And she was like, okay. And from there, we were just like, well, ain't no looking back now. It's already started. So let's buckle down. And it just went like that.
I hear you. So I think that one, taking that first step is everything. And then when
Yep.
you have the support of your friends or your families or sisters like Z to support you after that initial decision, that's amazing. So walk us through, if we're an organization in need, how we get support through Rebuild the Block.
So firstly, I mean, you would kind of go on our website and kind of look through our eligibility requirements. So for the fund we've been doing since the beginning, it's called the Small Business Relief Fund. So the eligibility requirements are they must be a Black-owned business affected by COVID-19 and or looting, destruction, and that's subject to change as time passes on. And the business had to be initiated or started on January 1st, 2020. Oh, yes, sorry, January 1st, 2020. Once they fit those eligibility requirements, they're able to do a primary application. It's basically just getting some demographics, how were their business affected by COVID-19? If they had any looting, destruction, what were the damages? Kind of asking them like, what do you need? Instead of us telling us this is what you need, we're asking them, what do you need from us? What can we do for you? Besides just financial assistance, like marketing, strategies, anything that that the business needs, we want to be able to help them with. Once they kind of finish that application, then we decide to just kind of do a verification. The biggest thing for us is transparency and making sure that people that are donating their hard-earned money, especially during COVID, you know, that we are donating these funds to businesses that are legitimate and also that show legitimate financial losses. So the verification process, we actually have a risk management team that look through documentation such as tax ID, tax returns, profit and loss sheets, bank statements, business bank statements, to ensure that whatever they put in writing in regards to their primary application, it's actually transferable and, you know, documentation, verified documentation. And then we kind of do a vetting process based on what the business need financially. And we do like a Likert scale tier system. And then from there, we help up to 15 businesses each cycle. So it's a continuous cycle. And last month, we did that fund along with a Startup September fund because we were realizing we were rejecting businesses that unfortunately started their business right before COVID hit. So like January 1st, 2020, and they didn't really get to really do too much with their business. They weren't able to really launch it because of COVID. So we wanted to give those people the opportunity to share with us their story and their business plans and what they plan on doing, and giving them financial assistance to either buy inventory or really kind of change their brand or their mission towards COVID, you know, because a lot of things are online now. You may not be able to have a store, but using that money towards, you know, adapting to where we are now. And that's kind of it. That's really the process for Rebuild the Block.
I think saying that's kind of it is oversimplifying it, right? And Tanya and I thought it was really important to give you all this opportunity to platform and share, because you all are 24 years old, 25 years old?
23.
20.
Oh.
That is not what I was doing at 20. Betting with the Likert scale. That's not what was happening. So if you could get support, because you never know who's in the room, in what form of support do you need now? Like Tiara with Black Girl Ventures Philly, how can we support your work?
I would say right now we're most open to learning about organizing, about being young entrepreneurs, about advocating for social justice in all forms, and understanding how to walk it, how to talk it, how to embody it, right? And then sharing. Thank you so much for giving us this platform, because this things like this have allowed us to grow, allow more people to hear about what we're doing, allow more people to apply, allow more people to donate. Sharing for me is the most important piece before even getting to a donation, right? So.
Well, I think that's wonderful. I mean, I just spent the last hour prior talking about, I think how Black Girl Ventures supports in a number of those ways. What's interesting is, it's interesting that the both of you were able to accomplish so much in so little time, and have real impact. And I think that as much as you can get from Black Girl Ventures, I think you could actually contribute twice as much in just your experiences alone, and helping people to know that sometimes you have to just move in order to, get somewhere. I'm analytic, and so I tend to think too much and move too little. So, I have to push myself to keep moving forward. But definitely congratulations for the success that you've had. And I think Black Girl Ventures would love to continue to support your organization in any way that we can.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we're celebrating, this is now our 7th month. We had just celebrated our 6-month anniversary with this podcast. And one of the things that we talked about is how we could improve. And a recommendation was made by Tracy Brala, who's in the room right now, to take the conversations we're having and make them more action-oriented. So we're hoping to do that with conversations like this one. Tracy, do you mind unmuting? Because I really want to get your opinion to understand from what you're hearing. Now, how do we take what Zonetta and Alexis are doing with the support of BGV Philly even, and turn this into action?
So, Neff, thank you very much for asking me to chat. And it was funny when the conversation started, and obviously I knew what was happening. So I'm executive director for Venture Cafe Philadelphia. So thank you all for coming and joining us. Folks who are here the first time, or folks who are back, it's always good to see familiar faces. But last month, which wasn't quite a month ago, it was probably 2 weeks ago, because we changed the date of the conversation. I was talking about action, and someone had mentioned earlier over the course of the evening about the idea that we can't be complacent. Like we have to continue the momentum. And so I'm just struck by the work that you guys did and kind of hearing it. So Tiara, I'm like you, I'm much more of kind of that cautious, weighing out the pros and cons type of person. Whereas Alexis, I loved hearing your story of like, you felt this and you went and did it. And so for me, that's incredibly inspirational. And those are the type of stories that we want to continue to share, because that's how action happens. Like, you took action. And to me, that's really just fantastic to be able to hear you say that, and also think about how we can continue to spread that conversation, continue to spread your story as an example. Because I do think it gives other folks an opportunity to say, I can do this too. I can be inspired by what you all are doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was really the goal after starting, was more so, and because we are 23, we're part of Gen Z.
Hold your head up high.
But using, growing up, everybody would say, you all are the generation with the voice. And it just was like, all right, we did this. We did this as a group. We did this as a team. So let's inspire more of our generation to get from behind the screen, or in front of the screen rather, or in front of your phone, and get actionable, right? So I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I thank you.
So there is a question from the chat from Peach Brown. What's your biggest success story so far with the businesses you've helped?
So we actually did a story, I want to say a couple of weeks ago, it might have been a month ago, with someone we helped in a business called Blaxican. So if you're a foodie like me, definitely check them out. I think they are located in Georgia. However, a lot of the times just being kind of behind the scenes, because not only am I the co-founder, I'm the chief operation officer. So I'm kind of just making sure that we're working as a well-oiled machine. I don't get into the depths and the breadth, that's the word, of really looking into the applications. So I'll kind of be like, okay, you know, I'm checking on the team, making sure that they're, you know, checking the applications, but I don't really see what these businesses are going through. And we went an interview with Will Turner, who is the business owner of Blaxican, and he was just preaching, and it left us speechless during that interview. And we're like, this is an interview, we're supposed to be talking, and like, you left us speechless before we even started. And he was just explaining to us, because if I'm not mistaken, we gave him $4,000 for the award. And he said, with that money, I was able to pay rent for my business for 4 months. And we're like, no way. Like, you know, we don't know what happens with these finances, you know, unless these businesses follow up with us to let us know what they were able to do with it. And we're like, really? Like, you were able, he was like, yeah, my business was going to be shut down completely. And now, excuse me, I was able to delegate my finances somewhere else where I didn't have to worry about the rent. My business is able to sustain for 4 months, you know, with your donation. And to us, we're like, wow, like, we know we're making a change, but hearing it and having people share their experiences and how we were able to help them really left us speechless. And it's like, this is definitely divine intervention. This is what what we need to do and continue to do, because we are really blessed, and I like to say blessed and highly favored to be able to do this and help individuals who need it. So there's many other stories that we are now like following up with a lot of businesses just to see, you know, how are we able to help you? How can we continue to help you? How can we continue to retain and sustain as a business? So that's the kind of the next step Rebuild the Block is looking into developing.
I hear you. And I just dropped your URL in the chat again, rebuildtheblock.org. So joining us here on the podcast, Earl Harvey. He's a friend of Mom Your Business, the CEO of Earl Harvey Media Group, and the publisher of the Black Professionals News. Earl, will you take yourself off of mute? Welcome to the podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me today. I'm very excited to meet these young ladies that are doing wonderful things. I've been following them in the media. I'm a media guy. I publish a newspaper, so I'm all over the media. And there you all popped up. And I was like, yay, Gen Z is in the house. Okay, making moves. So excited to meet you all. I'm here to support you. Have a wonderful infrastructure that we have put in place with Black-owned businesses to help you all to the next level. Okay, so certainly want to talk to you all about how we can partner with you and support you. We have the infrastructure that we've built for your businesses that you've reached out to. And we have resources for them. We have associations that help them grow their businesses so that you can kind of pass them on to us when they need additional services. So, you know, this is a great start of something really, really, really positive for the community. And we look forward to working with all of you all today.
Thank you again for joining us. So you said it's a great start, and starting something like we were talking about just earlier with Alexis, you know, pressing go is a leap of faith, but the sustainability takes a network to do something great, right? So Earl, I know the focus of a lot of what you do has to deal with the networking, and pushing the information out. So networking wise, who are some of the right people in the greater Philadelphia area for Zanetta and Alexis to network with?
Glad you asked. I organized the Black Business Leadership Coalition in March, BBLC. We came together, 25 business leaders who work for a lot of the service organizations around town, like the African American Chamber of Commerce, PIDC, Temple Small Business Development Center, all these type of organizations. And we put a coalition together in response to the COVID shutdown in March. Little did we know that by the time May 30th came and the George Floyd murder was broadcast around the world, that our mission would morph from COVID-19 to civil unrest and looting and burning, and how do we help our businesses that were affected in our business districts by all the civil unrest. And sadly, a number of Black-owned businesses were destroyed in the business districts that these businesses reside in. So it became a double whammy. We had to deal with COVID, then we had to deal with civil unrest. And of course, you all know now we're smack dab in the middle of a recession. So when you put those three factors together, it became a perfect storm for Black-owned businesses, sadly. And the storm has played out nationally. 440,000 Black-owned businesses have closed permanently. That's just the ones they can count. We all know that we have our businesses on the table, on the side, around here, around the corner, in the garage. You know, we operate on a whole lot of different levels. So there's way more than 500,000 Black-owned businesses that have closed. So here locally in Philadelphia, our coalition came together and we put a resource guide together that my media company has published. It's a Black Business Resource Guide. I'll put the link in the chat. But we actually put together those 25 organizations so that micro businesses and small businesses won't have to run around and figure out where they can go for services. We put everything literally at the tip of their fingers. We know this is a very stressful time. And now that parents are home, the business owners at home, their kids are doing homework, and they're managing a business and trying to do all this between the hours of 8 and 4 o'clock in the daytime, and it's complete madness. So we know what they're up against. So with the leadership group that I put together, we're going to be issuing this resource guide citywide. Like I said, the link will be in, and all you all can access that. But literally, the organizations that we have in our network will be a tremendous support to these business owners as they try to pivot and reinvent themselves in this new normal.
Thank you. So ladies, I want to ask you, if you fast forward to January of 2021, right? This is for you, Zanetta and Alexis. What position do you want to be in to empower those that are in need? So 2021, what is your theme? What are you thinking?
That was a deep one. And I think Alexis purposely didn't unmute herself to get me to say it first. Wow. Definitely networking with a lot of people. Thank you, Mr. Harvey, for sharing. That was very helpful and informational. But definitely networking with other businesses to really help these businesses sustain. I think the biggest thing for me as I'm learning and growing throughout my position in the organization is that it is an actionable thing that we're doing, but it's very short term. We're giving someone a donation, and yes, they may be able to pay rent for 4 months. But again, with all these different factors that's going on, how can we have these businesses be sustainable, essentially, and have a longer retention? And that's kind of what Alexis and I are working out to really start creating programs that help these businesses, like kind of a mentorship program that help these businesses get the resources they need to ensure that we see more capital and wealth in our community. Rebuild the Block is about redistributing wealth and knowledge within our community. And just, with systemic racism and everything that we have against us, we don't have that revenue. So in order for us to have that revenue, we need to create it ourselves. And not only that, create it ourselves, but start holding systems and organizations and foundations accountable that have left us out of the conversation and out of seated tables, and really start demanding change for socio-political change, because we don't have the access to the resources we need to grow. And I think one big thing that I want to work on personally is really starting holding these systems accountable and demanding change, reconstruction, bold reconstruction, so we have these seats at the table and that we have the capital and that we have the wealth so we can remain sustainable. So to answer your question in sum is really just making sure that this wealth and financial assistance that we're providing is actually helping these businesses stay open for as long and as they can, generational wealth, generational health. That's something I'm big on. It's just making sure generationally we are continuing to grow. So as a community.
And I can see that from your website at rebuildtheblock.org. You have themes there, that mental and emotional wellness that you spoke about, health specifically, STEM education, criminal justice reform. I even saw an area for cannabis while Black. Which one of these areas are you most passionate about that are part of that next step for 2021?
I'm gonna go ahead and say education. Right now we're working to partner. It's still quite early in the process, but we're working to partner with Penn State, SMEAL, which is the business school at Penn State, which is where we went to school, to see if we can work through any type of educational programs to help catch, form, mold, or what have you, the young professionals before they get out into the corporate world or wherever they go once they graduate. I think that's our next biggie, because the businesses are definitely our top priority, Black-owned businesses, and but we education and developmental is also very, very important. You have to learn. You have to implement that in your job, in your culture of your organization, wherever you work. That's what's important.
I hear you. So Earl, when you hear Alexis talk about education and even bringing in budding professionals who are coming out of business school, maybe specifically at Penn State, who are the right individuals that they need to network with that bring in that education as well as that small Black-owned business and entrepreneurial space in terms of growing?
Yeah, networking is really how I've built my business. I think I'm the premier networker in Philly. I'm gonna claim that, okay? I got a database of about 50,000 email addresses, but now, of course, the social media people have 2 million followers on Facebook or Instagram. So I got to get with the social media game. But yeah, I built my base working with Black professional organizations. My newspaper is called the Black Professionals News. And when I started it in the year 2000, I used it as a platform to connect all the Black professional organizations in Philadelphia to give them a place to have a voice. That was before social media, so I call myself the original Facebook, okay? So we had networking events every other month, and we would bring together vendors, small business owners in a non-alcoholic beverage environment, which social media became the social vibe, okay? Which was, hanging out and networking and doing business, but I wanted to keep it in a business environment, and I didn't introduce alcohol into my events because I wanted to keep some level of decorum so they didn't get out of hand. But that being said, the Black professional organizations are a great place to start. And a lot of the younger people now coming out of school aren't really familiar with a lot of the traditional Black professional organizations because they have all these other organizations that they can join now, which is a much broader playing field. But at the time that the Black professional organizations were founded, this was the only place that Black professionals could congregate. Back in the 40s and 50s, they weren't allowed to join the national associations of their profession. They couldn't be in the White Dentists Association, the White Doctors Association, the White Lawyers Association. They were barred membership. So they had to start their own. So these organizations, a lot of them, most of them are still around today under new leadership, of course. But Black professional organizations, the Black MBAs, okay? One of the most historical Black professional organizations in the country that my father was one of the founders of, he and his peers, okay? If you're an architect, the Black architects. If you're an engineer, the Black engineers, okay? If you're in technology, the Black data processors. These organizations are still out here. And I took the liberty of including them in my resource guide. So once again, you don't have to look for them. They're all in one place with websites, contact information, phone numbers. You need it, you got it, email addresses right at your fingertips. That's the purpose of the guide, is to get you all to that next level without you having to do a whole lot of work on your own.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I just refreshed that in the chat. If anyone's interested, the Black Business Leadership Coalition Resource Guide. Thank you so much, Earl.
You're welcome.
So, you know, you alluded to being long-standing within the greater Philadelphia area and the Philadelphia community, Philadelphia proper. So I know you have a finger on the pulse. What is the community saying right now? I mean, I know capital is something that we need in order to grow, but what is the community saying beyond we just need the financial resources, or is that the only thing?
Well, you know, money's right up there with air. Okay, so
Air and money. Monica's laughing. Monica.
Hey, look, after you breathe, the next thing you need is some money, okay? Because we can't survive on air alone, all right? So we understand how important finance is. The sad part is the Black community in particular has been facing disinvestment for 400 years, okay? And it's been intentional. You look at our communities, you look at our public school systems, it's intentional disinvestment when you look at the suburbs and the other counties around who get disproportionately more money for their students than we do. When you look at the criminal justice system and the amount of money that's put into that versus our schools, you can see this, the school to prison pipeline and how it's intentionally affecting our community. So right now, we're at a moment in time. I'm old school. I'm from the 60s and 70s. I marched in the old protests, you know, in the 70s, you know, white, Black Power. I got my Afro back. I'm wearing that till November 4th after the election.
It looks good,
okay?
by the way. It looks good. I like it.
I'm going totally old school right now, okay? But the reality is corporate America has realized, and they've always known, they're realizing that the disinvestment that they have made in our communities is really coming back to hurt even them, because they are consumer marketing companies. They're consumer-based companies. They make their money off people. And if people don't have money, they make less money. And now they're starting to see this whole, you know, effect of what they have been doing for the last, you know, 50 plus years, 100 years, and how it's affecting, ironically enough, their bottom lines. Okay, so you all are seeing all these commercials now, you know, we're donating $50 million to Black Lives Matter, and we're donating $100 million to the NAACP and the Urban League, and, you know, we're seeing all this. We've seen this playbook before. It's tired. It's tired. And we really are trying to monitor how much of this money that's being committed is actually going to get down to its intended purpose and not be skimmed off by people within the pipeline. So we're putting a committee together to address that right now, okay? So the reality is those companies that have made those commitments, well, we're going after them. We're going after them. Comcast is right here in our backyard. They've committed $100 million. PNC Bank, right in our backyard, $50 million. Even the 76ers have a Buy Black program. Imagine that, okay? So our job now is to make sure that this money is used for its intended purposes, so that the businesses that Rebuild the Block has identified that need help, the money will get down to their level. And the leadership coalition that we have put together are the ones that are going to be facilitating those transactions, okay? We have CDFIs in our community, local banks like the Enterprise Center, Beach Community on Cecil B. Moore, West Philadelphia Financial Services. These are financial institutions in our community, okay? They're not traditional banks. They're called CDFIs. They also have a full page in my Black Business Resource Guide, okay? So our job right now is to get you all the financial infrastructure that you need, because we know that the grants that are being given out, 5,000 here, 10,000 here, they're not sustainable. They'll get you to about 2 months of rent, And right now, a lot of the businesses that are just holding on, whose little bit of money that they have received is running out, they're predicting they may end up closing by January anyway. So the lifelines that we have been throwing them are just enough to keep them going for another 30, 45, maybe 60 days. And the reality is, it still may not be enough. So, you know, we're doing everything we can to put the resources in place for these businesses. We know we have some. The governor just released another $96 million, Governor P.A. Wolf, another $96 million this week for disadvantaged businesses. That's on top of the $100 million that they released in July. And we've been working with the governor and our elected officials in Harrisburg to get those carve out. So we've carved out almost $200 million with the work that we've done over the summer. And guess what? It's still not enough.
Still not enough.
So, you know, but we shall not be moved. Okay, we're going to get through this. But the only way we're going to get through this is if we get through it together.
I hear you, and I'm in agreement. I also question how I'm in the suburbs. I'm out in Montgomery County. So I work in the city remotely at this point. How can my buying power go beyond a book here or a meal there, but collectively work with others with the same intention? Are there any groups that are doing collective buying that makes a difference to that small business owner if we, all 20 of us, make a purchase on the same day or during the same period of time? Is any of that happening?
Well, glad you asked. We have a nonprofit that we started 2 years ago called I Buy Black. I'll put the link in the chat, ibuyBlack.org. And we're an online directory in Philadelphia. So we're aggregating Black-owned businesses because we know that a lot of people want to support Black-owned businesses, they just don't know where to find them. See, and the businesses located in our business districts were the ones that were most affected by the civil unrest, sadly. And a lot of them are really still trying to open now. So we're really in a very tenuous time right now. So to answer your question about how does a suburban person buy Black, well, it absolutely has to be intentional. It has to be part of your lifestyle. It can't be something that you do, you know, just when you think about it, or hey, oh wow, I hadn't thought. You really have to make it part of your lifestyle. If you go to a church, you know, you tithe in your churches, you donate to your churches. If you can tithe to a faith-based institution, we really need to look at our business community as a place where you can tithe also. Meaning that you set aside a portion of your salary, your income that you make, and you decide, you know, that you're going to use X amount of purchases to support Black-owned businesses. Because at this point, for those businesses that have not been able to put together any kind of funding, any kind of grants or loans, the only way we can assist them is monetizing their businesses through cash. Cash. Sales is the one thing they need in order to keep their businesses open. We have a disproportionate amount of restaurants in Philadelphia, Black-owned and ethnic-owned restaurants. William Penn did a list right after, I guess it was like in the springtime. There are 150 Black and minority-owned restaurants in the city of Philadelphia. Most of us can name about 5, and 4 of them are Jamaican joints, okay? So, because they're everywhere, okay? But there are 150. You can Google Billy Penn. If I get a minute, I'll drop it in the chat. But yeah, we have this, you know, we have to be determined that we're going to look for places like I Buy Black, where we can find the businesses, number one. And then we're going to have to determine what we can afford to share, to spend, you know, whatever we have been blessed by. And we're not just limiting that to the Black community. We're asking all the communities, okay? Because these are all small businesses, you know? And they provide some incredible value, incredible experiences. And there may be a time, you know, when you're tired of eating your cooking. I know I've been sick of my cooking now for about 3 months now, okay? I'm sick of doing dishes. So every chance I get to do a takeout platter, I'm on it, okay? But that $20 that you donate to, that you spend in a restaurant, and I'll buy 2 platters. That'll last me about 3 or 4 days. You know, I do a little bit extra. So But that $20 or $40 to a small business owner is like $150, really. And it's like that now. So I advise all of us to seek out places where we can first identify the businesses and then make every effort that we can to support them. There are going to be some initiatives that we're going to be doing as we get closer to the holiday season, where we're going to be encouraging people to support our small Black-owned businesses for the holidays. And a lot of the businesses now are online because their stores still, are not fully functional. But we're going to create that space, and I'll drop the link, and we certainly encourage you all to join us.
I appreciate that. And while you were talking, I was thinking about how we can document that impact. Has there ever been any type of impact report that shows the money being spent incrementally? Like if you do the campaign that you're mentioning with I Buy Black and you do it into the holidays, that we can do a shorter term, here's the impact, to encourage those who have been participating to continue to, and those that maybe didn't, to pile on, so it shows that growth and it encourages an increase in participation.
Well, based on the things that we're doing, there was a young lady on Juneteenth weekend who put together a Buy Black campaign over Juneteenth. It was like about maybe 4 days over the June 27th weekend, right into the early few days of July. And she called it a Show Your Receipts campaign. And she launched it on her platforms. You younger people are social media, so y'all can get the word out overnight. And I'm still using a fax machine, okay? So
it's legal, it works.
So I need to partner with Rebuild the Block so they can show me how to do stuff on social media, okay? Because I'm definitely going to need them for that, okay? But long story short, this young lady did a Show Me Your Receipts campaign, and Sister Love registered over like 500 businesses in like 2 days. And they did $500,000 in receipts in 3 or 4 days. That's millennial power, y'all. That's young folks, okay? And that's why I love the intergenerational opportunity that we have here. So an old schooler like me, who's a baby boomer, and I'm still banging out emails and calling people. Nobody calling nobody but me. I'm calling people. You all are texting people and social media and Instagramming people. But it takes everybody on every different level, okay, to come together and get in where you fit in, okay? So I claim my space. I own the baby boomers, okay? You guys are coming up with Gen Z. We got millennials on the line. We got Gen X on the line. They're right behind me, okay? So we bring all this energy and all these resources together, and we are hitting it on so many levels that the community is looking up, seeing all this activity and saying, wow, and I might be on the same site that my kids are on, and they may see my name pop up. Yo, that's my dad. You know what I mean? But how do we connect? Through the gram. I ain't even on the gram yet, but they connected through the gram, okay? And that's what it's going to take. So to answer your question, yes, we would love to partner with our millennials and our Gen Z, because they're going to show my generation how we can start quantifying this stuff. When I saw that Show Me Your Receipts campaign, and she did $500,000 in 4 days, I was like, yo, okay, y'all got to teach me how to do that, okay? And that's what it's going to take, a concentrated effort by all of us, okay? Interacting, different layers, going all deep down and through it. And you all can show me how we can use the new technology that we have now to quantify and qualify the stuff that we're doing, so we can show people the results. I'm still using the ad machine, okay? You guys are doing calculators on your phones, okay? So I'm just joking. I ain't that old, but 65, I'm still cool, But still, it's going to take all of our energy. But yes, we can absolutely quantify if we come together with a sustained movement and all work together.
And I see a lot happening in the chat right now, Earl. You're starting something. You're starting a movement. Robin suggested dropping your favorite restaurant in the chat. If you're in the room right now as a part of this live podcast and you're a business owner or small business owner, please put the name of your business, your URL for your website in the chat so we can revisit it.
Yeah, my family owns the Platinum Grill in Chestnut Hill.
And that rhymes. Like
We've been there for 13 years. Woo, that's a lifetime in the restaurant industry. Trust me.
Unmute, Robin.
Earl, I had my 40th birthday party at the Platinum Grill.
Just last year? Isn't that exciting?
Yes, just last year.
Thank you for your support, Robin.
Absolutely.
I see Victoria's Kitchen and South in there, North Philly, Peace Park, Black Wall Street's there. LoveElizabeth.com is there. I know everyone listening to the podcast can't read the chat, so I wanted to shout out Academy, medismybiz.org, and logiceyecare.com. So it sounds like we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the room and a lot of lovers of Black food in the room as well. Shop Marsh in Maine on South Street. Side of the road jerk chicken, East Falls. What do you know about it, Earl? What you know about side of the road jerk chicken?
I helped him get started.
Okay.
I'm the old head, okay? I was the first person he served his chicken to.
Okay.
I know everybody, y'all. It's a lot of fun being me. Hey, look, I just put the Billy Penn link in there for Black-owned restaurants in the chat. All right? Y'all can have fun with that one.
Very good. And Felicia just dropped in Philadelphia Women's Network Connection, LLC. She also dropped the link as well. So I definitely think, if nothing else from this conversation, what has come out is that we have to network, we have to support each other, and intergenerationally, we need to make the connections where we can leverage that existing knowledge, that existing network, and add that new technology moving forward to give us the fuel that we need to prosper together. From Chloe, Association of Black Women Real Estate Investors, Philly chapter. That sounds like a Rebuild the Block initiative. Chloe, are you in the room, and can you unmute? momyourbusiness.org, thebizcenter.com. So I was hoping to have Chloe unmute. It doesn't sound like she's able to, but another couple.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go.
This has been a awesome discussion, and I am so for all of the restaurants. I am for rebuilding the block. I am for the Black Wall Street, North Philly. Like, this is all very important for all of us. I have been selected to help lead and put together the Association of Black Women Real Estate Investors, Philadelphia. It is actually a part of a national network of, I want to say, I think there are about 23 chapters nationwide that are in the process of forming. And what we are doing is actually similar to Rebuild the Block, where we're trying to put together group economics, come together, teach our women of color about real estate, and us actually going in, buying properties together, buy back the blocks in our neighborhoods, in our various cities and different regions across the US, and just educate and help create generational wealth in our families and our communities, and help bring each other up.
Thank you, Chloe. So Earl, my question earlier was about what do we need outside of money? You said air, money, and Chloe just interjected and said some land, some property.
I hope I'm not bogarting the conversation, you guys. Yeah, I could talk all night. That's just me. So I answer you keep them coming. Keep them coming.
No worries. So I'll tell you what, let's give Alexis and Zonetta the last word before we close out the show. Ladies, what do you want to leave the listeners of Impact the Podcast with?
Well, first, a huge thank you to everyone that's participating in general, from kind words to informative information that we can all use. Thank you to everybody that's dropping things in the chat. I know me and Z are over here writing down real fast and typing and copy. We're like literally sending each other the links from the chat right now. Like, we can do this. So we're just forever grateful for this opportunity. You can look up more information on what we do at rebuildtheblock.org. The link has been dropped in the chat. And if you ever want to contact us or follow us on social media, Rebuild the Block Corp on Instagram, RTB Corp on Twitter. We're active, we're live, we're out here. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And Earl, thank you. Everyone, check out the Black Business Leadership Coalition Resource Guide. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you to Venture Cafe, of course, for powering Impact the Podcast. I want you to stick around. We're going to take a quick break, but this is part of the BGB takeover. It's going to continue through the evening. Next is designed to disrupt and reimagine education. We have an Edpreneurs Roundtable where we'll talk about the different organizational structure. Is the right organizational structure for-profit, nonprofit, maybe even a benefit organization? And then at 6 p.m. sharp, we want you to vote with your dollars during the BGV Philly Pitch Competition Watch Party. Next month, our episode is going to focus on Optimism 2020. This was the most disruptive year in our lifetime. So we're going to proactively look forward towards an optimistic 2021. Thank you for joining us here live on Impact the Podcast, where you can listen and be heard. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please